How you can rewire your brain to quit porn for good. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh, and I'm going to tell you how. In this video, I'm going to share with you three main topics. Number one, how your brain gets hijacked by porn in the first place. Number two, how rewiring your brain works. And number three, what you must do to make the rewiring happen. Make sure you stay tuned until the end of this video because I am going to give you a super powerful bonus brain tip that you can use right away to resist the urge to watch porn. How does your brain get hijacked by porn in the first place? Okay, it is the perfect combination or the perfect storm of many brain-based factors and variables all working together so that in the end, your brain gets completely hijacked and you are no longer in control. Okay, so what are we talking about? First, we're talking about a supernormal stimulus. In 1951, Tinbergen called it a supernormal stimulus, meaning that it creates this cascading effect of neurochemicals that creates a neurochemical cocktail in the brain that you can literally get in no other way. That's what makes it super normal, yet artificial and terrible for you. So remember that. But this super normal stimulus, when you're exposed to it the first time, it is creating this just feeling of pleasure and a reduction of pain. And those two become very dangerous for certain people who want to feel better and who want to get themselves out of pain. So what also happens is there is a cue and a trigger response that is exaggerated, and it has to do with salience motivation. So what salience motivation is in a healthy brain is that our nervous systems are programmed to do things that basically make our survival happen. So we need to eat, we need to procreate, we need to find food and shelter. Those are skills that we need to be able to do so that we can stay alive. That is salience motivation. We are motivated to do the things that we need to do to survive. So an exaggerated trigger cue response as it's applied to salience motivation means that now the brain is highly motivated to do something that is not only not for their survival, it is also bad for them. And so this brain has been hijacked. That's what the hijacker is. He has his own agenda. He just wants to do what feels good and gets him out of pain, but it's actually not for your survival or for your benefit at all. Then what happens is because of this cascade of neurochemical release, you're artificially put into flow state. Now, Mihai Csikszentmihalyi shows that flow state is when we lose time because we are so engulfed in our purpose. Now, when this exaggerated salience motivation triggered cue response is happening in an unhealthy way, we lose time, or if you're watching pornography, you lose time because you are on the search for something that you want to find, which is that perfect way to finish. So what happens then is that is heightening the neurochemical release in your brain, making you feel better and better and better as you open browsers and you click around and you're looking around. So this is also coupled with something called the Coolidge effect, which shows that especially males are constantly looking for new novel stimuli. And what Tinbergen actually found a long time ago with Magnus is that in a butterfly effect, when butterflies were made to look more beautiful, the female butterflies were enhanced superficially. The male butterflies preferred the enhanced butterflies to the real ones. So that's the supernormal stimulus when it comes to pornography because actually Wolf, another researcher a long time ago, calls real naked women bad porn. But that's not true. That's what the brain thinks once it's been hijacked. So now we combine that with the Coolidge effect. So you're always looking for a new novel stimulus, one that actually doesn't exist in nature anymore, and you are hooked. You're hijacked. That is how the brain becomes hijacked by porn. So, how do we rewire your brain, boot that hijacker out, and get control back? We need to do a few different things, and we need to use some scientific laws so we can combat those scientific laws that went awry. Okay, first law we're going to use is called Hebb's Law. Hebb's Law states that when neurons fire together, they wire together. So as you use neural pathways, you are hardwiring that neural pathway in. So if you've been frequently and consistently for a long time watching pornography, unfortunately, you have built a heavy-duty neural pathway for watching more. So Hebb's Law states that what we need to do is get a new pathway going. We have to build in a new pathway for something else. That goes back to habit replacement. So if you can change your current habit and put a new healthy habit in place that maybe capitalizes on the scientific factors that we talked about in the hijacking, then you can start to create new neural pathways in your brain using Hebb's Law. Neurons that fire together, wire together. And I'll share more about that with your bonus brain tip in just a minute. But what we also need to do is use anti-Hebbian homeostatic learning. So what that states is that if you stop using the old habitual neural pathway, it will start to weed itself over from disuse. So that's why many people can be successful in quitting porn for a little while, because basically you're using the anti-Hebbian law to start to unwire your brain. But to be ultimately successful, you have to unwire, but then rewire in a healthy neural pathway. And that is the piece that is missing for most people for ultimate success. So we need to use Hebb's Law, wire in a new pathway, use anti-Hebbian law to unwire the old unhealthy pathway. So how are we going to do it? How are we going to unwire the brain and then rewire the brain? This is how we're going to do it. 2 ways. And this is a comprehensive approach to quitting porn for good. Number 1, we have to use the brain top down. So when you use brain training, neurofeedback brain training is one of the most powerful tools that you can use to combat any addiction or any bad habit by rewiring the brain at its core. Your brain will rewire itself. You don't have to do anything besides use the neurofeedback technology. That's the beauty of it. Basically, what happens is the brain is taught to use more perfectly calm, focused speed in the middle, so your brain can feel calm and focused without needing to feel stimulated or calmed down. When your brain is using speeds out in the extremes, if it's using too much extra fast speed, it feels the need to be calmed. If it's using too much slow speed, it feels the need to be stimulated. Usually when it comes to people who get really sucked into watching pornography, it's using too much of both. So we have to calm these speeds down in the extremes and then bump up perfect processing speed in the middle. Neurofeedback brain training will do that for you. And just quickly, the way that it does it is by rewarding your brain when it's using more of this perfect processing speed. And it doesn't punish your brain, but it doesn't reward. It gives negative feedback when these speeds in the extremes, stressy or bored speed, is being used. It gets a negative feedback. And over time, your brain, in and of itself, using neuroplasticity, will learn to use more perfect processing speed in the middle. Then we have to use a bottom-up approach using your behaviors. Bottom-up meaning using your mind and your body to rewire your brain also. That's how you're going to be ultimately successful, by using both sides of the street. So how do we do that? We change behaviors. We stop engaging in the habit that's causing all the problems, and we start engaging in a habit that is healthy. You have to put something else in. And if you've watched my other videos, you know that the something else's exist in your job, You find work that is purposeful so that you can get out there and rock out your purpose in your best life. In your relationships, so you build relationships with your partner or your significant other, with your parents, with your friends, and with your children, with your family. And lastly, you get some hobbies that you have fun doing and you learn something new so that you're using all those scientific factors to your advantage. And then when we change those behaviors, you can be ultimately successful. If you find my videos helpful in learning to control your brain so you can quit porn for good, please like and subscribe below. It'll only help us both. Okay, it's time for your bonus brain tip. Now, here's today's tip, and this is a good one. And if you're not training your brain and you don't have control of your brain, it might be difficult for you to use. I always have to preface my tips with that little ditty because I don't want you thinking if you can't do it, it doesn't work. If you can't do it, it means you need more control over your brain. Okay, today's tip is neuroscience shows that you have 5 seconds, under 5 seconds, to make a better decision when you're about to be triggered by an urge to watch porn. So the urge hits, you better do something else within the next 5 seconds because there's only a very few, I'd say one for the most part at the beginning, one pivot point where you can make that decision before you're sucked in and down the slippery slope you go. So you've got 5 seconds in that pivot point, and that's why I'm a huge proponent of habit replacement. So you need to know when the urge strikes, what are you gonna do? One major tip to go along with that is change your behavior and put a new habit in that's in public or with other people. So you feel the urge, you're triggered, you got 5 seconds, you're going to go do that other thing that you're going to decide right now, and you're going to do it with other people or at least in a space that other people are so that you can break that cycle of the habit before it starts. So go use that brain tip because it'll be powerful. So if you want to control your brain and quit porn for good, let me tell you what my program is like so you can decide if it feels like a good fit. I use neuroscience in 2 ways. I use it in a top-down approach using brain training, and I can see all of your brain training sessions, so it's different than you doing it alone. It's like working out at home, going for runs by yourself, or working with a personal trainer who knows exactly what to do to get you where you need to go. That's how I use brain training. I look at your brain graphs, I tell you what's going on, I tell you what you can do to make your brain work better. That's the second part. Neurocoaching. I'm trained as a sexual addiction recovery coach and as a brain health coach, which means I know exactly what you need to do from the bottom up to change the behaviors of your mind and your body so that we can bring your brain online using a two-way street. We use those two pieces together, and being able to do that, you can move on right off into the sunset for ultimate success. So remember, control your brain or it'll control you.